more countries have drifted into these authoritarian states. And here comes the savior, and his name was Donald Trump, which is exactly what happened also in Russia. Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Il-jong, they want to stick to their power, serve for their self-interest. Hi, here is Markku Wilenius, and I'm going to tell you an astonishing fact. The world is not moving forward, but backward. Almost half of the world population are living in the country with authoritarian regime. Why do you think this is happening? Let me give you a bit of a context. Under the last couple of months, the world has experienced how Putin, with his cronies, has made his invasion to Ukraine. He is leading the country that have no democratic systems in terms of checks and balances. So something that is all the time checking whether the politics that they are employing are the ones that really is for the good for the country. This is what can happen in this extreme case, particularly with the states that do not follow the principles of democracy, free expression, negotiation inside the state, and the rule of law. This is what we get when we drift out from the pattern that has been there ever since the democratic nations were invented about 200 years ago, which was basically an idea that let's rule in the way the country, that people of the country are on the top of that, and they can change the regime the moment they feel that it's going to the wrong direction. Now, in authoritarian regime, this doesn't work. And the fact is that under the last 20 years, so in this century, what has happened is that more countries have drifted into these authoritarian states than those countries that has actually improved their democracy. This in spite of the fact that we are in many other indicators moving on. We are creating more wealth. We are creating more prosperity of all kinds in our world. But at the same time, we're getting more and more these countries that do not respect any of the principles of democracy. Isn't this astonishing? But even more astonishing it gets when we think about the future of all of this. Because you see, the problem that these regimes that are trying to build kind of a power engine that just serve for their self-interest is that once they get their mandate from the people, they start to think that this mandate is with them forever. And this can happen anywhere. As recently as 2016, Donald Trump was elected as president of the United States. He was elected because there were lots of people that were frustrated about their current economic situation. They thought that they were left behind in the country, which is the most powerful country in the world, with vast economic fortunes. So those people thought that they had left behind, and here comes the savior, and his name was Donald Trump. Now we all saw how chaotic his administration was, and that was because he led like authoritarian ruler lead, with no idea of how this negotiation inside the regime goes, because he wants to lead. And now this goes with Putin, this goes with Xi Jinping, this goes with Kim Il-jong, this goes with all the rulers, the authoritarian rulers that have actually hijacked their power from the people. And while this happens time and again, we need to be asking why in this world where we have been kind of moving on to the world where everybody has a lot of information, everybody is educated more or less, and everybody has an access to the information, why we are seeing this type of the development? And the answer is that this is happening only because there is something going on, particularly in our economy, that allow this to happen. There is something in our economy that builds the inequality into the system, which means that there are more and more people that feel that they are in the marginal. They have pushed in there because there is no way that they can see that their future can be more prosperous. In fact, they have experienced in their lives that whatever they do, it doesn't make their life much better. So there is a disappointment, frustration, and as I said, this is exactly the moment when these saviors, these new autocrats, sort of ride into the political scene and hijack it, which is exactly what happened also in Russia more than 20 years ago, because there was a disarray in the government in the last years of Boris Yeltsin. And this was the time when the new guy came in and started to build his empire within the country. And that was because he never had really idea to build Russia as a democratic country. He wanted to build a country that represents the past imperiums of the Russia in the different incarnations, but with an idea of a strong empire that has a lot to say in the world. So this type of authoritarianism is at the other end of the axis. The other end of the axis is the Nordic model, the Scandinavian model. Here in Finland, as well as in another Nordic countries, over actually more than 100 years, there has been developed a model, and this model preserves the democracy, the expression of the people, and the type of the negotiation and feedback processes that is needed in a real democratic system. And with this type of the flow inside the system, it makes sure that even if there is a direction with a government that does not fit to what people think, what majority of the people could feel that this is the right way, they can be replaced by another government. And this is done in an easy and transparent manner when it's needed. In authoritarian state, it is not possible because it usually happens only when you are using violence to get them out of their seats. And so that is the huge difference. Authoritarian states do not respect the replaceability of the government. They want to stick to their power as long as they want. That's why, for instance, what we are seeing now in China, for instance, is that they created, by the rule of the Communist Party, they created a zero-tolerance policy for the coronavirus, which was good in the beginning of the pandemic, particularly because it hit hard the China as well as the world. But when the Omicron, the new variant, came around, this policy of zero tolerance was totally useless. Yet they couldn't go back to their decision and revise that decision for the better one that would be suiting for the world in which we are living right now. And that's why you have seen this chaos inside the China, inside its economy, because they cannot feed in the new information and adjust their policies accordingly. So summing up, there should be no future for authoritarian state in our world. But unfortunately, what we're seeing is the decline of democracy in many parts of the world. So what will happen is that we see those consequences when there is an authoritarian power, like in the case of Russia invading independent country called Ukraine. The solution for the problem has to come from reinforcing the democratic institutions in our countries and to allow people to express their true voices. And I'm quite confident that in the future, this trend of declining democracy will be reversed. But it will only happen if we start to see the benefits of democratic states, such as they have been expressed in the Nordic model, which in our world is the ultimate model of democracy. So I want to challenge you, my dear followers, what do you think about how we can reverse this trend of getting more authoritarian state? How do we reverse it? What do we need to do to establish a true democratic regime that serves the people of the country in the right way? Give me your ideas, give me your comments, and also look at the other videos that I made for you of the related topic like this.